we're going, we don't need roads.
But I want to start out talking about the book itself, because obviously it is called Entrances and Exits. And the book features incredible examples of you coming in and out of things. So I'm curious for you, is this book an entrance or an exit? Are you coming back into our lives by telling your story? Or is this you telling your story and making your peace as you leave us?
Oh, man. I'm coming into myself all the way through. It's a review. I'm certainly coming out too, aren't I? I've been away for a while. And so the book is it's a course through myself for the last 74 years. So I'm in and out. Oh God, I hope I don't sound too abstract. I'm in here and I'm also out with you. So at this point in my life, I'm in both directions.
No, that makes total sense.
Can you kind of get it? I'm always an entrance and an exit. Yeah. I'm always coming and going. Isn't it rather interesting, the predicament we're in as human beings, always coming and going? It's fascinating, the nature of time and whatnot. I won't get too philosophical, but I'm rather impressed by the situation we're all in. Yeah.
Well, I agree with you, because oftentimes it takes time to realize that you are entering or exiting something. But most of us reading this book, we are strangers to you. We have no right to know your personal life, and yet you are pouring it all out here for us. So when you decided to open up and write this book, how do you decide what complete strangers have a right to know about you?
Well, I don't feel you're complete strangers. I feel you're a part of me. I'm inside all of you. I mean, in the sense that we are one humanity, all equal and all that. So I don't feel apart. I feel in many ways I'm just connecting. Mm-hmm. I'm in a place of connection.
I'm talking to you from Chicago, and you tell a great Chicago story about a fan encounter, which resulted in the life lesson: if you take the bread, you got to give something back, which I love that. And I actually wrote that down. I'm curious about your fan encounters over the years. To what degree, particularly at the height of Seinfeld, when people meet you, did they expect to meet Cosmo Kramer, or do you feel that most fans can grasp the concept that Michael Richards and Cosmo Kramer are two different people?
Oh boy, and that applies to me as well. In the beginning, doing Seinfeld, everybody was looking at Kramer. I was Kramer. Hey, look, there's Kramer. There's Kramer. Over the years, people started to see, oh, there's a guy inside that character called Michael Richards. Like Entrances and Exits or In and Out, I'm now Kramer and Michael Richards, the two, the character and the person behind the mask.
To your point, I've interviewed a lot of actors over the years who have played iconic characters, and within minutes of an interview figured out very quickly, oh, they do not want me to talk about that character or that famous role that they had. And I'm sort of curious if you ever had that. Was there ever, because having done my research and watched a lot of past interviews with you, it always felt like you were very open about talking about Kramer. Did you ever have that period where you didn't want to talk about him?
No. People are interested in the character, as I had to be interested in the character, certainly in the creation of the character. No, we're talking about my work, and my work goes out to the public. The public is interested in knowing about the work. I'm right there. I'm in and on it too. Yeah. I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to talk about their work, or I don't get that one. But maybe because they want to move on to another character. Yeah, I can see that with actors. Actors want to not be identified with one character. It's called typecasting. I know that one too. Parts have come my way, but I didn't get the part because I was being thought of as Kramer, and they need a cleaner slate.
I understand that.
Yeah, you got it.
I understand that. There are a couple of questions. I'm not gonna stay focused on this, but there are a couple of questions that I was just gonna ask about 2006. And basically what I want to ask is, when you write this book, you write about it very openly and very honestly. And I feel like that basically accepts the fact that people are going to use that as an excuse to bring it up. So what sort of deal did you have to make with yourself in regards to opening up about what happened, and also accept the fact that there are a lot of people, if that happened to, they would say, I'm never talking about that again, but you have talked about that. What sort of agreement did you have to make with yourself?
Oh, just stay honest
Mhm.
and open. If I'm coming out to meet you, the public, I have to be honest about the situation, what happened, and how I came to terms with it, how I've moved on. And yeah, I'm open to sharing that. And I go into much of it uh, in the book. Yeah.
Very openly. And one of the details that you wrote about that I thought was interesting is that you tried to find the man that you were speaking to that night, and you weren't able to find him. What would you have said to him? Is there anything that even still you wish you could have said to him?
Oh, I imagine that we could have sat down and had a chat, talk
Mhm.
about what just happened, what's
Mhm.
going on, and work through it, get to a place of greater understanding rather than walking away so angry, you know. But then I took it up in myself. I could dialogue with that man. I could find that man's place in myself. So it became inner work. Yeah.
If someone reads this book and hears your story and still says, I don't know, I still think about that, to what person, to what would you say to that person?
Oh, I'm sorry, but you'll have to work it out. It's your kick.
Mhm.
You've got to get at it, and um, yeah. I'll go for an explanation if the person is around, but I know there's some people who are simply not going to accept such a despicable night, you know. I've got to get to that acceptance myself, and that's what that's all about. Yeah.
And that's what the book really, I think, really does. I am going to shift gears because I am a lifelong
Okay,
fan,
Jake.
and I do have so
Go,
many
man,
Seinfeld
go.
questions. I want to start out with a big one. One of my favorite pieces of TV trivia is that Kramer is not in the first episode of Seinfeld. Kessler is in the first episode. I would love for you to compare your first day on set as Kessler to your last day on set as Kramer. Who you were, the vibes on set, your understanding of the character, because those are two wildly different moments for you.
Yeah, they are. I played the clip. I played the character slow in the beginning, like he didn't quite know what's going on around him. When Kramer kicked in, we're leaving Kessler now. I started to play him a little quicker, and he got to the point to where he's actually ahead of everybody. That's what he thinks, and he's getting everybody to catch up to where he's at. So slow to quicker, right down to the way I come into Jerry's apartment very fast.
I
Giddy up.
just did a rewatch of the show from start to finish, and it's fun to watch how many more scuff marks end up on the bottom of the door as you progress through the show. That I felt like that was a really interesting sort of tracking of time.
Very good, Jake, because Jerry took that door home. That's the only part of the show he took with him was that door. And we were remarking about how those scuff marks, there they are for 9 years of Seinfeld. No one washed that door. No one cleaned it up. So there's a lot of Kramer's spirit on that door.
I'm
It's
glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't. I know you recently rewatched the show with your son for the first time to get ready for the book. Could you pinpoint the moment that you figured out who Kramer was? Because oftentimes when you watch a show, you can see an actor trying to figure it out. Was there one moment where you can go, right there is where Kramer is born?
oh my, he Kramer was born a lot. It was always through the laughs.
Mhm.
We had a live audience and I could hear the laughs. And then when we shot scenes and there wasn't a live audience, I could hear the laughs. That's Kramer, alive, born through the laugh. Yeah.
Speaking of hearing things, I genuinely feel like you have to put your physical comedy up there with the likes of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and
Right.
Hardy. What do you think those guys would have said about Cosmo Kramer?
Just keep making them laugh. Make them laugh. Hmm.
In your rewatch with your son, was there, I know there are so many, there are countless moments, but was there one moment that surprised you and made you laugh harder than you expected to?
Um, expecting the laugh. Oh, gosh, that's such. Mm. The moments that were the best for me in watching the show with my son was my son laughing, of course. You know, that was such a lift. And that the comedy's coming through after all this time. What,
What
25
what
years? Oof.
what was there? What was his favorite Cosmo Kramer moment?
He likes to see the physical comedy,
Mhm.
and he loves all the scenes with me and Newman. He's a big Newman fan. He likes Wayne's work. Big Wayne.
Wayne Knight is a genius.
He was such a delight to work with, and there was a great connection between Kramer and Newman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I know a lot of people talk about you auditioning for Calvin Klein, but I think was it the Bachelor auction, where you walking down with Elaine was sort of, I think she said he's 6'3". He recently got a
I
haircut,
got
and
it
then
too.
your moment was, I think that was absolutely genius. Actually, to this point, I know you just recently obviously rewatched the show, and I just had the great immense pleasure of speaking with Mr. Jason Alexander here in Chicago because he had a play here in
Cool.
Chicago, and
Yeah.
one of the things
Yeah.
he told me was, it's tough for him as he doesn't rewatch the show. And he said, it's tough for me because people want to bring up certain moments. And I go, I don't really know. Was that tough I'd imagine now you have a refresher, but was it tough for a while when people would throw out random moments?
Oh no, I could remember. They would sometimes come to me and repeat lines from the show and then want me to say the next line coming. And I didn't know the lines, and that was peculiar to them. Why doesn't he know his lines? You know, why can't he join in and we do the scene together? But the fact that they know the lines and they're performing for me, I can say they actually performed it sometimes better than I delivered the line, you know. So I'm sitting back now as the audience going, go, 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 yeah, you know. Um, oh yeah, fans. The
Well, we
show.
we love you. You revealed that after you shot the last episode that you only took two pairs of Kramer shoes. You took the Doc Martens. But a quote that I thought was interesting, you say, maybe I'll put them on again someday. Have you or will you? And what would that mean to you?
Well, I put them on for the reunion show on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and they helped. I said they're like the talented shoes in the movie Tom Thumb. You know, I put those shoes on, and they're magical, like Dorothy's ruby slippers. Something about the shoes. I talk about that in the making of character, getting into the shoes of the character, the feet of the character, and feeling the ground underneath me. It certainly helped me with the sliding into Jerry's apartment. Yeah, I hope I answered your question,
You
Jay.
did very
Did
much
I get,
so.
did I get to it?
You
Yeah.
did very much so. When you a couple more, then I'll cut you loose. When you filmed that last episode, you put your finger up to your mouth as a signal, as you say that Kramer's going to be quiet for a while.
Yeah.
This is such a big question.
Yeah.
Where do you think he is? And is there a moment over the last 25 years that you would have loved just to hear? What the hell would have Kramer said about that?
Uh, to be silent. Um, in a way, I was through the physical comedy, in not speaking but doing funny. That is part of the silent era of comedy when you talked about Buster Keaton and Chaplin. Here at the end of the show, uh, when do you hear me speak again? Oh, oh gosh, I guess it's rather esoteric. I don't mean to sound so vague as to what this may symbolize, but at the time, yeah, the show was over, and it's going to be a while before I speak lines as Kramer again.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I choose to believe that he's out there just being Kramer today. Like in my mind, I'm literally going to New York later this week, and there's this a part of me that believes that like maybe I'll run into him, and that's kind of how I feel like I need him to exist in my mind. That he's out there somewhere, and maybe he and I will have an adventure together someday.
yeah. Well, that's the spirit of New York in Kramer. You know, so if you're in New York, I think how busy New York can get is how busy and how active Kramer's imagination is. because all of what imagination is swinging through New York. That's for sure. Kramer is the spirit of that hustle and that bustle. His mind always turning, wanting to get into this and that. He's swinging into life, and he's alive as the great city of New York certainly is. And Chicago.
And Chicago. That's a
and
that's
our
a great
country,
comparison.
for that matter.
Very true.
It's all a giddy up.
Yeah. I'll end on this big question. Do you miss Cosmo Kramer in the way that we do?
Yeah, I do. It was a wonderful time, a big creative time, 9 years of playing inside such a character, the laughs and the success in reaching an audience that's having such a good time. That'll always be in my heart.
I love that. Mr. Richard, did your daughter enjoy her time here in Chicago?
Absolutely. She got an education there in Chicago. She went to school in Chicago, and yeah.
I love that. Mr. Richards, I just want to end, sir, by saying that I was, like many people, like an entire generation continues to be, raised being with an understanding of what was funny because of you. And because of your work. And I read every page of the book and loved it. And I appreciate you. I know you have a very busy schedule, and thank you for coming back into our lives and for talking with us. And this really was an honor for me. I really do appreciate you, sir.
Oh, thanks, Jake. A
All
pleasure.
right.
Truly.
Thank you, sir.
Take
Take care. Take care.
Till
We'll
then.
talk soon. Bye-bye.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.